Welcome to the next session.
Hi everyone, my name is Yen and I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Treasure Data Customer Data Platform. Today we'll be hearing from Nicole Rothman, Director of Acquisition at National Debt Relief, to learn how National Debt Relief transformed direct-to-consumer marketing with Treasure Data. To introduce Treasure Data, we have over 8 years of experience delivering solutions for more than 400 customers. We're an independent platform with 150 plus connectors across many different technology categories, and we enable marketers to manage customer data efficiently. We have widespread industry recognition, as you can see here, and we are also backed by SoftBank. Without further ado, I'd like to hand the mic over to Nikki Rothman, Director of Acquisition at National Debt Relief, to tell us more.
Hi there. Like Yen said, my name is Nicole Rothman, and I have been at National Debt Relief for over 3 years, running traditional and digital media campaigns, including but not limited to direct mail, TV, radio, paid social, email, and audience segmentation. And while National Debt Relief has one program offer, with a CDP like Treasure Data's, we have the ability to treat everybody different as it pertains to how we expose them to National Debt Relief, especially on the digital front, which I'll get into later about how NDR has been able to leverage and scale with Treasure Data's CDP on paid social on Facebook. So before I get into that, a little bit about National Debt Relief. National Debt Relief is one of the country's largest and most reputable debt resolution companies in America. Our doors have been open for more than 10 years, but most importantly, we're all about helping our customers through tough financial times by resolving their debt for only a fraction of what they owe, hopefully in the shortest amount of time possible. Most of our clients have come to us with a hardship that has set them back financially, and we're here to help, which is especially important in times like now. When I think of our basic value props, when I was hired 3 years ago, it was really narrowed down to 3 things. We resolve people's debts in 24 to 48 months, which is much less time than what people typically do is 2 to 4 decades. So if you're paying the minimums on your credit cards, it typically takes you 2 to 4 decades to get out of debt. National Debt Relief wants to help you get out of debt in 24 to 48 months. We're also A+ rated by the BBB, and we have absolutely 0 upfront fees. Now, I knew for the most part that with these 3 value props that we would consistently put out into market, they worked time and time again. But those value props may not be the deciding factor to speak to a certified debt specialist, or better yet, enroll. So today I'll be talking about how Treasure Data CDP allowed us to break through that status quo value props. And for the most part, pre-CDP, our business challenges really consisted of 3 things. We had this very spray and pray tactic, which led to higher acquisition costs, especially on the Facebook side. It was just very easy to fall into the habit where we treat everybody the same because it was easiest to do. And it was very easy to do with generic value props that work time and time again. And before our CDP, we weren't really utilizing our own visibility into the customer journey, which, of course, if you think about it, gives a lot of issues with delivering this fluid brand experience. So when we think about that from a sales funnel perspective, if a potential client is already in the sales funnel, why would we treat them with the same prospecting message? We wouldn't. We don't want that. Another thing we needed to do was optimize our audience targeting with first and third party data. So we want to make sure we're targeting the right person on an individual level, but also pinpoint the right way to prospect a group of people. Now, how does this kind of pertain to gaining visibility on the customer experience side, with a CDP? So Treasure Data allowed us to gain a ton of visibility into our customer experience in a much more fluid way that goes beyond a CRM. Some people may think that a CDP can be very redundant to their CRM. I've had issues internally with that, trying to, push for a CDP and all of the magic it can provide. But anyone who has a CDP or has access to one knows that the magic that actually goes into discovering an audience from their first-party data, then you have the ability to activate that specific audience to certain platforms and kind of watch it go from there. And that is truly just scratching the surface. And then the way that we kind of tie everything together, we collect, we cleanse, and we stitch customer data using treasure data. So we ingest customer data from all of these different touch points, right? Our CRM, our website, paid search, social, display, programmatic, and that, again, is really just scratching the surface. And then we have the ability to standardize, validate, prep this data through ID resolution and ID stitching. Not only does treasure data really do the heavy lifting by seamlessly tying one person together, we can also then start to understand and see future data points forming based off of the channels that they come from on top of their website behavior. So once we've considered all of these data points, we can then decide how to segment, so long as it's a big enough audience. Then we can consider maybe creating this omni-channel campaign effort against an audience to then orchestrate our media or A/B test. We can A/B test the efficacy of that platform we're testing everything on, which of course then comes down to campaign activation you're pushing live. And it's how do we create this tailored brand experience? So as you can see, all of these possibilities that I listed before, the possibilities can then start to add up. And how do we tie this back to treating everybody differently, which was, our main issue was, we're treating everybody the same with these value props. So how do we then, if we can segment our audiences, how do we start to segment our messaging? And I kind of like to bring in this platinum rule where we treat everybody how they wanted to be treated. More so what's in it for them, what are they really experiencing? Where are they in the funnel? So we can target them more effectively. And we do this in 3 ways. We identify them, we then segment, and then we personalize. So we identify by extracting customer insights. We want to identify the audiences that mean the most to us. With that, then we create segmentation that have a clear and intent outcome. So what is our goal for this audience? How do we achieve this goal? And then after the campaign has come and gone, did we hit that goal, and how do we optimize and do better? Which of course then comes down to personalization. So this dictates a lot of creative direction. So thinking back to creating something intentional to how they want to be treated and what's in it for them. And we understand that debt is very taboo to talk about, especially with a stranger. So how can we as National Debt Relief be as approachable as possible and allow them to hand over their information, pick up the phone and call? So this comes down to leveraging our customer intelligence to really get that personalization into play and effectively scale on Facebook. In the next few slides, I'll be going over how we're able to do that effectively on paid social, on Facebook, using Treasure Data's CDP. The 3 main ways we've pushed CDP audiences into social channels include leveraging our third-party data enrichment to also improve lookalike modeling. We want to remarket and then create those lookalike segments, but all kind of in the name of growing horizontally, which means just adding more audiences that do mean the most to us. So again, we leverage third-party data enrichment from our CDP to improve these models and audiences. And then wherever they end up in the funnel, we want to remarket them based on customer stage in the sales funnel. So kind of going back to that example I gave at the top of this presentation. So, new leads being treated differently from someone who is qualified for the program. So someone who hasn't even spoken to a sales rep should not get the same messaging for someone who has and is actually qualified for the program. And then, of course, we want to suppress against certain segments, right? People who we've spoken to and they decide to go another way, aren't interested at this time. We want to make sure we're suppressing those people out. I know from shopping online, I hate when I buy a pair of boots online and then I get targeted the same ad maybe 15 minutes later. It's not buyer's remorse, but I know that's wasted ad spend. I would hate to see that for national debt relief. So I'm happy we can take care of that now with the help of Treasure Data. And then, of course, we're creating lookalike segments based on target audiences. So we want to optimize towards our best performing segments. Then we have this ability to grow out and smarter about who we're targeting. And then that leads us to advanced personalization off of lookalike modeling on Facebook. So how do we layer on even more personalization after we segment? We bucket this out into 3 groups. We have our existing customers to the left. We have Facebook audiences to the right, and we overlap them together to create our lookalike audiences. So this is obviously within our customers, this is obviously where we want to start, given that we already have the visibility into our own prospects and clients within the purchasing journey. And based off of our pain points that we collect, based off of our own data, we can then speak to their pain points for a more hyper-targeted messaging. Then when you move to the right for Facebook audiences, so this is a more generic bucket of their interest category-driven audiences. Our question is, how do we add more certainty that these prospects will even convert? And then with Facebook audiences, we have the ability to do a lot of A/B testing using different prospecting messaging, since we can assume they're more probably mid to upper funnel. We just want to make sure we're being smart about it, so we're constantly testing. And then right in the middle, you see lookalike modeling. So we use lookalike modeling to target prospects off of similar behaviors to our own first and third-party data. And we do this to create really intentional messaging and campaigns. And we know it's not as juicy as our first party data, but it comes pretty close. So we use our own personalization and learnings from those outer buckets to dictate what happens in the center with our lookalike messaging, which leads me to our results. So since Treasure Data, when we've implemented the CDP in December of 19, we implemented this into our Facebook Ads Manager. We've seen 35% of Facebook ad spend driven by Treasure Data audiences alone. This generated 27% of our total account acquisition, which is actively generating 37% of our total lead volume. And it's our Treasure Data audiences are currently bringing in a 10% lower CPL than our average against our other campaigns. And this is, within the same time period. So from a quantitative perspective, we find this to be, the fact that we can expand our campaign efforts to over a third and beyond, we're seeing the benefits already, and it hasn't even been a year. And then when we look at more of the overall campaign results, the quantitative levels of this, we're constantly unifying our customer data using Treasure Data to deliver tailored brand experiences that NDR can be proud of. But we also want to do that heavy lifting for our customers in their decision-making process. What's in it for them? If we're already thinking about what's in it for them, then they have the ability to either enroll, not enter their information in the lead form, get on the phone with the sales rep. We want to make sure that that process is as easy as possible. This also leads us into that hyper personalized targeting based off of consumer interests and their intent signals. This has lowered ad spend based on those suppression filters that I talked about earlier. And higher lead acquisition efficiency is happening across the board, which enriches future audiences and strategies of where we want to go next. And then on the left side, you'll just see some high level data points that we saw using Treasure Data, just encompassing within our Ads Manager platform. But we are, insanely happy about using this product. We see the benefits day in and day out. This is something that we will utilize probably for the rest of my time at National Debt Relief and hopefully beyond. We see the fact that we can bring in our first party data and utilize that to marry this with third party data to grow out horizontally and then up vertically. We're seeing the benefits tenfold. So thank you so much for sticking around. I know debt can be a little taboo and not so sexy, but integrating with Treasure Data has made my job a lot more seamless, intentional, and easy. So please feel free to email me if you have any questions, and I'll hand it back to you, Yen.
All right. Thanks, Nikki. And thank you so much for sharing all of your insights. Really appreciate it. For the viewers out there, we hope that you found this information useful. And if you have any questions, please feel free to visit us at treasuredata.com. Thanks, everybody.